What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports and you're watching our college football channel. It is officially bowl season. We've actually got a game already going on, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, I think, North Texas versus App State. So I'm a little bit slow on this video because again we have actually a bowl game already taking place, but that game is not in my top 10. I'm going to give you my top 10 bowl games. If you only can watch 10 bowl games this year, these are the 10 that you are going to want to watch. And this comes down to several different things. The storylines going into a game, just the intrigue in a matchup, how good I think the game is going to be, how competitive I think it's going to be. Just a lot of different factors go into making this list, but these are my top 10 bowl games, again, for a number of different reasons, which we'll talk about. So we're going to start with number 10. Actually, before I get to number 10, I had two honorable mentions. How about UAB and South Carolina in the Gasparilla Bowl? That is a really interesting game because you're going to see, can UAB compete with the SEC? Can they compete with one of the worst teams in the SEC? Just a very interesting Group of 5 versus Power 5 matchup there. And then also the Arizona Bowl, Ball State versus San Jose State. You've got the Mountain West champion versus the MAC champion. That game is intriguing to me just because you have two conference champions. But most people probably are not going to care too much about that game. Let's get into the top 10 now. At number 10, we've got the Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma State versus Miami. When I think about the Cheez-It Bowl, I always think about the TCU Cal game that had like 20-something interceptions or whatever it was. Not really, but there were a lot of turnovers in that game. That's what for whatever reason, that's what I always think about when I think about the Cheez-It Bowl. I think we see a little bit better gameplay this year. Two ranked teams, Oklahoma State versus Miami. This game is going to be on December 29th. It'll be at 4:30 Central Time, 5:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Oklahoma State currently favored by 2. You see the over-under 58.5. So expect some points in this game. Miami coming off of that embarrassing loss in North Carolina. Oklahoma State was kind of up and down. And one of the things about the bowl games this year, we always have opt-outs. We always have players skipping out on the bowl games. It's going to be even worse this year. So who knows, what's going to happen. I mean, it's almost impossible to predict these bowl games just because you never know who's even going to be on the roster. I may talk about a guy in this video and he may not even be playing, so I apologize if that happens, but I can't keep track of all of the players opting out. Anyways, very solid game here. I think it'll be a good one. Really an important game for both teams to try to get some momentum into next year. Two teams that had pretty high expectations, didn't quite live up to them, but still had solid years. And if they can finish off with a win here, I think they really can build some momentum and heading into 2021. So I think just from a competitive standpoint, this is maybe top 5. I think it's going to be a really good game. Let's go to number 9, the Alamo Bowl, Texas versus Colorado. The intrigue here is the fact that this is an old Big 12 matchup. Colorado, of course, used to be in the Big 12. Maybe that's not a big deal to some people, but for me, I'm going to enjoy seeing two old Big 12 schools going at it. The game will be at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on the 29th. Colorado 4-1, Texas 6-3. Texas favored by 13. The thing with Texas is you never know what you're going to get from this team, which team is going to show up. We've seen them play great and beat really good teams, and we've seen them lose to teams that they should easily beat. So again, especially being in a wacky bowl year, who knows what Texas team is going to show up. I think Colorado is a team that'll be really motivated, a team that has been kind of doubted all year coming off a tough loss. They exceeded expectations by a lot, at least for me. And so it's a team that maybe wants this one a little bit more, and because of that, I think it'll be a competitive game, a close game, and it should be a fun one. At number 8, we've got the Music City Bowl. This one will be on December 30th at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Iowa 6-2, Missouri 5-5. Iowa favored by 15. The game will be on ESPN. So one of the things you're going to notice in this video is I have a lot of SEC matchups, SEC versus whatever, for a couple of reasons. First of all, the SEC got a ton of bowl bids. I don't know if they had any team that declined a bowl bid. Maybe they did, but they've got just a bunch of opportunities. So that's why you're going to see a lot of SEC teams on here. Also, you're going to see, another reason you're seeing this is because I think there are some games that really can kind of let us know just how good the SEC really is. I know SEC fans think it's the best conference by far, and then others think that maybe it's not. Well, these games, a lot of them are mid-tier, lower-tier SEC teams versus top-tier teams from other conferences. So you would expect that the SEC is not any, the elite conference that SEC fans think that it is. You would expect the SEC teams to lose all these games. Missouri, again, middle-of-the-pack SEC team versus one of the top teams out of the Big Ten. You would expect Iowa to win this game. If Missouri goes in there and wins, or even if they're real competitive, if it's a close game, these types of games, I think, can tell you that maybe the SEC still is the best conference. Top to bottom, by far, this is the elite conference. Or maybe we find out, look, the SEC is just like the Big Ten. It's just like the ACC. Very, very intriguing storylines for some of these SEC teams. And I think this has a chance to be a good game. Missouri's been up and down this year. Iowa's been really solid. But I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. And I think it'll be a good one in the Music City Bowl. At number 7, the Cure Bowl, 7:30 Eastern Time on December 26th, day after Christmas. The game's on ESPN. Coastal Carolina favored by 6.5. This is a game that was supposed to take place during the regular season, and I think it will be a fantastic matchup. I'm really looking forward to this one. Coastal Carolina looking to cap off the year at 12-0. They've had a phenomenal year, and then you've got Liberty on the other side. They have some wins over ACC teams. If they could finish 10-1 with Hugh Freeze remaining as their coach, this team could really build some momentum into next year. I don't know who's on their schedule, but if they have a chance to get some quality wins, watch out for Liberty. They could be, a top 10, 15 team next year. This game right here, again, could give them some of that momentum, maybe help them get another recruit or two before signing day. A big game for Liberty, and again, it will be huge for Coastal Carolina to finish 12-0. Let's go to the Outback Bowl now, number 6. This game's on January 2nd at 2:30 Eastern Time. The game is on ABC. This will be the Saturday, following New Year's Day. And it's going to be another one of those games like with Missouri and Iowa. You're talking about Indiana, one of the top teams out of the Big Ten, arguably the second best team in that conference, versus Ole Miss, who is towards the bottom of the SEC. We find out how good the SEC really is. Ole Miss should not win this game. A lower tier team in the SEC shouldn't beat the number 2 team out of the Big Ten. But if they do, I think that really tells you something about the SEC. Again, this is a storyline in several games this year. Indiana's only favored by 6.5. So what does Vegas think about it? They think it's going to be a pretty close game. Indiana, of course, lost their starting quarterback, but the backup came in, played really well against, I think it was Wisconsin. So this will be, a really good measuring stick for the SEC. And also Indiana. Is Indiana for real? Were they really a top 10 team? Or did they just beat some bad teams in the Big Ten? This will be a really good one, I think. And I think it'll be a close game. At number 5, we got the Orange Bowl, Texas A&M versus North Carolina. 8 o'clock Eastern Time on January 2nd. ESPN, A&M favored by 7. You got several storylines here. North Carolina, I've seen a few opt-outs for them, which is going to hurt. Texas A&M is a team that they really thought they should make the college football playoff. And you have to wonder, are they going to show up in this game and just be like, well, we didn't make the playoff, who cares about this game? Or are they going to be like, look, we're going to show you why we should have been in the playoff and try to make a statement? It's very intriguing, and I really don't know which way it's going to go. I believe North Carolina, the players that are there, again, they've had some opt-outs, but the players that are there are really going to be motivated to get a big win over an SEC team. And again, we find out, if the SEC is as good as SEC fans claim, Texas A&M should easily beat North Carolina. But if this game is competitive, and Vegas thinks that it will be, then maybe North Carolina was the real deal. A lot of people thought they were overrated. This will be a very, very interesting matchup. And just that North Carolina offense going up against this A&M defense, that is going to be a very fun matchup. At number 4, not a huge bowl here, but this game's coming up just tomorrow, actually, December 22nd, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. It's the Boca Raton Bowl, UCF versus BYU. And again, I'm thinking about the big picture in these games. If you've noticed, I'm not really thinking about this quarterback versus this secondary. I'm not diving deep into these games. I'm thinking more big picture. So with this one, you've got UCF. If they were to beat BYU, and let's say Cincinnati beats Georgia, to me, that tells me that the American Conference is as good as the other Power 5 conferences. If they have a team that finished, I don't know where UCF finished, 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there, and they can go out and beat not an undefeated, but a top 25 BYU team, that really tells us a lot about the American. Or maybe it tells us that BYU is overrated, and they just didn't play anybody. So that's a really interesting element going into this game. I think it'll be a very good game, and really looking forward to seeing what happens in this one coming up tomorrow night. All right, speaking of Cincinnati, at number 3, we've got Georgia versus Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. Noon Eastern time on ESPN on January 1st. So this will be the day before. This will be before we get to semifinal matchups. Georgia's favored by 7. And I think we're not going to see a Georgia team that comes up not motivated. It's not a team that, is barely left out of the playoff. They were clearly not getting in the playoff, but I think it's a team that wants to make a statement and wants to try to build this. Right now, I think Georgia's the favorite in the SEC in 2021. I think this is going to be the best team. They want to prove that, and they want to show what they're going to be capable of next year, get that momentum, get a big win. I mean, there's potential that Georgia could win this game easily. On the other hand, we're going to find out just how good Cincinnati is. We know they're going to be motivated. They're going to want to show the committee, hey, look, we deserve a shot. If we go undefeated next year, put us in the playoff. We're going to prove that we can beat the top teams. And I think they actually play a couple of really good teams next year as well. So this is a really good matchup here. Two solid defenses. I think it's going to be maybe a lower scoring game. I think Georgia does have the potential, if the offense is clicking with JT Daniels, I think they have the potential to blow this one wide open. But at the same time, Cincinnati's a really good team. And again, we're going to find out how good they are. We will find out how good this Cincinnati team is in this matchup. Number 2, the Cotton Bowl, 8 o'clock Eastern time on December 30th. I think this might be the first New Year's Six bowl game. It's one of the first. It's on ESPN. Florida's favored by 3. We're talking about two really good offenses. Florida almost beat Alabama, of course, or I wouldn't say almost beat them, but played with Alabama. Oklahoma, one of the hottest teams in the country. We should see a ton of points. Look at the over-under, 72. Yeah, you're going to see some points in this game. Kyle Pitts has already opted out for Florida. That's a big deal. I think because of that, it's a game that could go either way. Again, we're talking about an Oklahoma team that is playing really, really well right now. This, from a competitive standpoint, might be the best game. Might be the closest game. Might be the most exciting game. I'm really looking forward to this Cotton Bowl matchup. But number 1 for me is obvious. It's easy. It's the Sugar Bowl coming up on New Year's Day. Semifinal playoff matchup. Clemson versus Ohio State. Clemson favored by 7.5. Game going to be on ESPN. It'll be the second of the 2 semifinals. And you see just so many. This is just going to be a great game, I think. I see Clemson there favored by 7.5. I don't think they're that much better than Ohio State. If Ohio State plays up to their potential, if they have their team at full strength, I think they can compete in this game. I don't think Clemson is clearly a better team or anything like that. I know Justin Fields has struggled in his 2 biggest games this year. That's going to be a big story to watch. But I just think this game is going to be a good one. Last year was a classic. Ohio State felt like they got cheated in that game. They've had a lot of the offseason was motivation towards getting revenge on Clemson. They get to have that opportunity. How about where Dabo Swinney ranked Ohio State in his top 25? I believe it was 11th. So they're going to feel disrespected. They're going to be really motivated. The motivation factor definitely goes with Ohio State in this game. And because of that, I really think it could go either way. I know Clemson looked really good against Notre Dame, but I think this is going to be a competitive game. And it's, of course, a playoff semifinal game. It's the biggest game here. I cannot wait to see what happens in this one. Should be a lot of fun. And no, I do not have Alabama and Notre Dame on here just because I personally think Alabama's probably going to win that game pretty easily. We'll see. I'll probably do a preview and kind of break that game down a little bit more and make an official prediction. But that's just my first, thought. But Vegas thinks that as well. I think the spread for that game was like 17 maybe. It was a pretty big number. So, again, most people it's 19.5 is the current number for that game. So no one's really expecting Notre Dame to hang around in that game. It is a semifinal game though, and it's going to be a big one. So it could also be on this list. I could see you putting that one on here as well. But not as many bowl games to choose from. Still though, plenty of exciting ones. And these are my top 10 bowl games. Give me your top 10. Give me your top 5. Whatever. Give me your list down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.